In today's episode, I'm going to be telling you a little bit of a story as well as showing you a drawing that I did for my Drawsember Day 23 challenge. I hope everyone is doing okay and having safe, happy holidays. I am exhausted. I have baked a crap ton of gingerbread cookies. I was using a secret Swedish family recipe from one of my friends over in yonder Scandinavia country. I've made a Yule log, but the first time I made the sponge cake, it was a epic failure, so I made 2 cakes technically. I did my Drawsember challenge, some last minute Christmas shopping, and I worked out. It's been a very, very eventful eve of Christmas Eve. Like, I haven't slept yet, and it is 4 a.m. Don't judge me. But on the plus side, I do have my Christmas mug, and I do have my homemade gingerbread cookies here that I will nibble on. So without further ado, what I'm going to be showing you today is I'm going to be showing you the process for my Little Matchstick Girl that I drew, and it is based on a Hans Christian Andersen story. I'm referencing a short done by Disney just for like aesthetic. Our story is Little Matchgirl by Hans Christian Andersen. So there's this village, right? And it's incredibly cold out, snow falling, it's freezing, everyone is rushing to their warm fires and everything like this. But there's this one little girl who has these matches that she needs to sell. And she's wearing shoes that are too big, and she even lost one because she ran across the street. And this little boy picked it up and was like, I'm gonna keep this. I'm gonna keep it as a cradle for when I have kids one day. So there's this poor little girl out in the cold. Everyone else is heading home. She's trying to sell these matches. She's got one shoe and she's freezing. Shivering with cold and hunger, she crept along miserably. The snowflakes fell on her hair. Lights gleamed in every window. And there came to her the savory smell of roast goose, for it was New Year's Eve, and it was this of which she thought of most. She stood in a corner formed by 2 houses, cowering. She had drawn in her little feet with only one shoe, and grew colder. She dared not to go home, for she had sold no matches and didn't bring any money with her. Her father would definitely beat her, and it was cold at home anyway, so why not be cold where her dad couldn't touch her? Her hands were nearly frozen. A single match might keep her warm, but if only she could get it out of the bundle. So finally, with a lot of effort, she drew one out, and she lit it ablaze. And oh, how it burned. It gave out a warm, bright flame for such a little match. She held her hands over it, wondered at its light, and it really seemed to the little girl as if she sat before a great iron stove with polished brass feet and brass shovel and tongs. So warm, so comfortable. But then the flame went out, the stove vanished, and nothing was left but the little burned match in her hand. She struck another one. It burned brightly, and where the light fell on the wall, it became transparent like a veil, so that she could see through it and into the other room. There was a beautiful china dinner service, a roast goose stuffed with apples and prunes, and as she looked at the steam coming off of its perfectly roasted breast, it jumped off the table, this goose, knife and fork still inside its breast, and it just waddled up to her. Right up to the little girl. But the match went out, and the goose disappeared, and nothing was left but the thick, damp wall. She lit another match, and now she was under a most beautiful Christmas tree, larger and far more prettily trimmed than the one she had seen through the glass doors at the rich merchant's shop. Hundreds of wax tapers were burning on the green branches. She stretched out her hands to touch them, but then the match went out again. And still the lights of the Christmas tree rose higher and became stars in the heavens, and one of them fell, forming a long trail of fire. Now someone is dying, murmured the child softly, because her grandmother, the only one who had ever loved her, and who was now sadly dead, had told her that whenever a star falls, a soul mounts up to God. She struck yet one more match against the wall, and again it was light, and in the brightness there appeared before her her dear grandmother, bright and sweet and timid and happy, happiest anyone had ever looked on earth. "Oh, grandmother," cried the child, "take me with you. I know that you will go away when the match burns out, just like the goose did, and just like the tree did. You, too, will vanish, like the warm stove did." Lest her grandmother should disappear, she rubbed the whole bundle of matches against the wall, lighting one big flame in her hand. And the matches burned with such a brilliant light that it became brighter than noonday. Her grandmother had never looked so grand and so beautiful. She took the little girl in her arms, hugged her tightly, and they flew together gloriously higher and higher, far above the earth, and into the starry night sky, where there was not cold nor care. But in the corner at the dawn of day sat the poor girl, leaning against the wall with red cheeks and smiling mouth, frozen to death on the last evening of the old year. Stiff and cold she sat with the matches, one bundle of which was burned. She wanted to warm herself, poor little thing, people had said. No one imagined what sweet visions she had had, or how gloriously she had gone with her grandmother to enter upon the joys of a new year in the starry sky above. And that's the story. That is the story. I paraphrased it a little bit, so I'm sorry if that upset you. I'm just gonna sit here and eat my gingerbread cookie. It's got snap. Paul Hollywood would approve. Okay, I'm leaving enough for Santa Claus, don't worry, but it's time for me to get to bed, or Santa Claus isn't gonna come. So, good night, you guys. Have a great Christmas. Have a wonderful holiday. I appreciate all of your support on here and on other platforms. You guys are really great to me, and I appreciate it so much. I'll give you cookies too. Thank you guys so much, and have a wonderful Christmas, or whatever celebration you celebrate, and a great new year.